Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the results are officially in. Season 3 has been released, and we now have the raw data as well as gameplay repetitions to be able to bring to you all Season 3's best specs dominating right now. Whether it be DPS, tank, or healing, these are the best specs overall in the game. Just remember, every spec in World of Warcraft is viable. This list is simply here to give you a direction to choose from and understand who the best are to maybe help you invite certain classes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the wait is finally over. To everyone who's watched, subscribed, commented, and believed in the channel, our brand new limited edition merch drop is finally here, and it represents everything we're about at the Comeback Kids. A community, partnership, high energy, and grit. So if you want to represent something bigger than just a game, now's the time to join the movement. You can check out the brand new merch live now in the link in the description below or at cbkmerch.shop because it's never too late for a comeback. Now, first up, with one of the best DPS specs this season, we have the Marksmanship Hunter. Throughout all of PTR testing, Marksman was dominating, even though everyone was really scared about the trick shots nerf. Still, yet again, they're one of the highest damage dealers in the game. The performance from Dark Ranger in combination with some of the changes they got makes the rotation very smooth, and your damage just simply through the roof right now. If you look at some of the damage logs in a Mythic Plus key, over 45% of your damage comes from your Dark Ranger hero talent tree. Everything we have highlighted is contributed from that hero talent tree, and it shows why their tier set and the changes for this spec have done wonders for it. Pretty much whenever you use Black Arrow, it explodes for a bunch of AoE damage. It also applies Razor Fragments, which is a nice little damage over time effect. Most importantly, it triggers your Phantom Pain to where whenever you aim shot, your enemies affected by these effects take extra damage. This spec is so incredibly fun. It's very thematic right now. It reminds me of Sylvanas, of course. You got the Black Arrows giving you lock and load procs whenever you shoot them to get instant aim shots off. Phasing visuals. Listen, I don't want to be too biased here, but this is by far the most fun version of marksmanship I have ever played. I love the gameplay style right now. It's very, very fluid, very simple, and rightfully so, marksmanship, they deserve to be pumping. Moving on next, another best specs list, another list where Arcane Mage is at the top. Yeah, listen, I gotta hand it to Blizzard, man. Arcane Mage, their tier set design is probably the most fun in the game, personally, to me. It just greatly enhances the damage out of your Arcane Barrage, but then after you use your Arcane Surge, you get what is called Arcane Soul for like 13 seconds, and during that window, you get your own personal Time Warp, you get 20% bonus extra damage, and then you're able to spam Arcane Barrage and Arcane Missiles over and over and over again until it ends, and the damage is just nuclear, man. You combine that with your evocation buff and an on-use trinket, your damage is easily going to be anywhere between 50 to 20 million DPS during those windows. So I would say at the current moment in time, Arcane Mage is just dominating World of Warcraft between rating and Mythic Plus. I also love the fact that you bring a really solid group buff with Arcane Intellect for those caster cleaves, and it feels like you have an answer to every problem in the current content, whether it be Mythic Plus or rating, with how strong your survival can be. You have mirror images, greater invisibility, group-wide absorbed shields, ice cold. There's almost no way you can actually be killed if you know what you're doing on a mage. I love this spec right now. There is a good reason why it's my current main. It's a knockout across the board, phenomenal tier set bonuses, very fun gameplay, great damage, great group utility, you name it, Arcane Mage has it. One of the best specs in the game right now. Moving on next, we did say it a few weeks ago and we're saying it again, Frost Death Knight is slamming Season 3 right now. They're pretty much the go-to premier option for Death Knight and in terms of melee as well. Don't get me wrong, Unholy is doing pretty good, but Frost DK is very strong at the moment. The rework this spec has gotten a few months ago has done wonders for the spec overall, in particular them having a couple AoE filler spells such as Glacial Advance and Frost Sight instead of those AoE cleave obliterates. It has been such a good gameplay change for them. I'm loving it. When you're looking for a spec that just nukes down pack in terms of pure AoE, Frost Death Knight is probably the first one you're going to be calling right now. When you have all your cooldowns ready to go like Pillar of Frost and Breath of Sindragosa, you can go ahead and assume that everything's just gonna die in the pack in a matter of seconds. The rework to Breath of Sindragosa, allowing you now to use runic power abilities during it, makes the rotation very fluid and incredibly fun. Your damage is nuclear during those times, and the spec honestly if you want me to be real, it just feels like a better version of Enhancement Shaman and Retribution Paladin. It has a nice fresh coat of paint on it when it comes to design, and this is how they should design other melee specs in the game, in my opinion. They have a ton of procs going on, plenty of ways to reset your abilities and enhance them, and I think this is probably the most fun / best version of Frost Death Knight I have ever seen in World of Warcraft. One of the coolest things is also the fact that their damage numbers between all of their abilities are relatively even. You don't really see that quite often. For example, Arcane Mage and Marksmanship Hunter, you can see both of them on screen now. It's very lopsided, but with Frost Death Knight, this just goes to prove that it's a very well-designed spec. It's very equal, and overall, it's just incredible right now with their tier set bonuses. I would say it's a 10 out of 10 spec. Perfect in my opinion. If you've ever had an interest in Frost Death Knight, now is absolutely the time to play them. Next up, a big surprise for me on this list, we do have the Elemental Shaman. I will say something very important to note is that throughout the entirety of the race to World First, Elemental Shaman has been crushing the raid. Their burst potential is absolutely nuclear with the Farseer hero talent tree. You pretty much summon ancestors to duplicate some of your abilities in battle, and if you pair this with your Ascendance window and Bloodlust, good God, you could be dealing over 10 million damage pure single target. It is so much fun, and it's one of the best things you can do in World of Warcraft is play an Elemental Shaman, pop all those cooldowns with Bloodlust. Outside of raiding also, in Mythic Plus, Elemental Shaman is also performing exceptionally well. When it comes to bringing things to a party and having extra utility, Elemental Shaman probably has the most to offer to a group in the entire game. They got double stuns from the Capacitor Totem, knock up from Thunderstorm, shortest cooldown kick in the game with Wind Shear, pretty consistent AoE damage, Bloodlust, Purge, a group buff, and then nuclear damage when you need it with Ascendance for those really difficult packs to get through. Due to your tier set for Stormbringer being so strong, you can constantly use Tempest, which now gives you free instant cast Chain Lightnings consistently, which then gives you more Maelstrom to do your Elemental Blast Earthquake combos. Listen, the only thing I would say this spec is lacking is some really solid defensives, but you gotta have a weakness somewhere. That is theirs. They have incredible crowd control, great interrupts, nuclear burst damage. I am loving Elemental Shaman right now, a very, very solid spec. Now, another fantastic spec making the list is Retribution Paladin. Now, I know you may think I'm crazy, but listen, the numbers and data do not lie. Retribution Paladin is actually in a fantastic spot right now, and I need you to let me explain. Firstly, one of the best things about Ret Paladin is that it's a very simple class to play. The rotation consists of only a few buttons overall. You have very high burst damage every like 20 seconds with Wake of Ashes because of your tier set. You're constantly getting Hammer of Lights, which then also means you're getting permanent Empyrean Hammer uptime, which is nice. And all that damage is just so consistent, and it's very hard to mess up the rotation. Additionally, I would say the skill ceiling of Retribution Paladin is also high as well, though, which means you can use some of your utility for your party to save your group on your own by yourself with like Blessing of Protection, Lay on Hands, Off-Healing Word of Glories, Blessing of Sacrifice. Retribution Paladin offers a lot to a group that a lot of players seem to overlook. I would say the biggest surprise for me when it comes to Ret Paladin, though, this season is that how well they're performing inside of a raid environment. Would you personally be shocked to know that Retribution is ranked 9 out of 26 in total DPS spec rankings right now? It is incredibly rare for Ret Paladin to even be in the top 15, considering they're always lackluster in raid. So for them to be sub top 10 is phenomenal for the spec overall, and it proves how exceptionally they're performing right now. They're doing great in raids, phenomenal group utility for Mythic Plus, incredibly consistent damage with well-designed tier sets. I know a lot of you people think I'm joking, but the numbers don't lie here. The rankings are high up, and they're very easy to play. I gotta say they're one of the better specs in the game right now. Next up, we do have the emo fallen boy Destruction Warlock. Now, Destruction saw some major buffs right before the season's launch, and it has done wonders for them overall. Just to put it plainly with a quick TLDR, their Chaos Bolt numbers are absurd right now. Each Chaos Bolt is hitting for like over 7 million damage, and if you have a Havoc on enemies, which causes your single target abilities to cleave, you're just tossing out these AoE Chaos Bolts that are dealing so much damage. It's very, very satisfying. Now, what I particularly love about Destruction is that both of their hero talent trees are very viable right now for raiding or Mythic Plus, which, in my opinion, is a major win. It's very rare when both of your hero talent trees for a damage spec are equal in terms of being meta and viable, so that means Destruction Warlock, their gameplay variety is very high, which is nice. Destruction Warlock, I think they shine the most in a raiding environment though. Their Diabolist hero talent tree is causing them to excel in the low target cleave damage scenarios, and for those hyper burst windows where you get those damage amps on some of those bosses. I would say even in Mythic Plus though, they aren't the best in the game, but they still have very high consistent uncapped AoE damage with Cataclysm paired with Wither, and then you're using your Rain of Fire to spam consistently. They also bring a battle res with Soulstone, which is nice, Hellstones for your group, and they're probably the most tanky range DPS in the entire game, which of course is a plus. Easily the biggest surprise of this list though, I can't believe I'm saying this, is Subtlety Rogue, and with a good player behind the wheel here, their damage is just filthy this season. You have massive burst windows every 90 seconds with Shadow Blades and Flagellation. You pair that up with your Shadow Dance and Secret Technique AoE burst windows. Dude, you're dealing some really satisfying, and I can't believe I'm saying it, effectively high damage. When it comes to the hero talent tree, Trickster's passive AoE bonus with Nimble Flurry, it's causing their single target rotation just to be, baked in AoE cleave, similar to how Blade Flurry works for Outlaw. And one thing that is very important to note though when it comes to Sub Rogue, they take a lot of patience and they take a lot of skill. There are times where you're sitting on cooldowns and you have them ready to go, but you have to wait a little bit to line them up properly. It kind of reminds me of Fire Mage in a way where you have those moments of downtime, but if you know what you're doing on this spec, its damage potential is easily some of the highest in the game right now. Also, Sub Rogue is one of those almost perfect Pug Mythic Plus DPS specs because their entire damage pattern is to nuke everything down immediately, and then while you're approaching the next pack, your cooldowns are coming back up to do it all over again. The only thing I don't love about Sub, they're a very selfish spec. They don't bring a lot of utility compared to other specs in the game like Elemental Shaman or even Retribution Paladin. By the way, if you're looking for some hilarious Zero to Hero content with a Sub Rogue on it, check out my boy Kuzi and his channel. Shout out to him for helping me write this section. Literally the best content out there when it comes to Zero to Hero, hands down. And lastly for DPS, we do have the Havoc Demon Hunter. Now, I want to quickly just get it out of the way because most of the top performing specs in the season right now we're in deal mostly magic damage. This does improve Havoc's stock a lot due to them having Chaos Brand, where that extra 3% damage amplifying some of the best specs in the game, it gives them a major leg up over some of the other classes. Just having a Havoc Demon Hunter in your Mythic Plus group can easily add almost like 1 million DPS passively just because of Chaos Brand. I will say, with getting that out of the way, Havoc is also very strong right now, primarily to their tier set bonuses for both of their hero talent tree spec for Aldrachi and Felscarred. Overall, Havoc has just really high priority damage due to Wounded Quarry being on a target. They also have above average survivability with incredible self-sustain, and their own personal damage being very high while combining the Chaos Brand. It makes them a very valuable pick for Mythic Plus this season. They also have AoE stuns and fears and stops, a short cooldown kick, and my personal favorite thing about them is that both their hero talent trees, they're very viable. So it comes down to personal preference. I will say personally, I like playing Felscarred over Aldrachi. Don't hate me in the comment section, but I think it requires a lot less thinking and planning compared to Aldrachi. So you just get into Metamorphosis, you get your inertia going, you pop off your Demon Surgeon. I personally like that better. And then of course, we all know Demon Hunter's getting another DPS spec coming next expansion, so the stocks for Demon Hunter overall are very, very high right now. Moving on now to healers, we're going to be talking first about the Restoration Shaman. Now listen up. Resto Shaman makes the list, in my opinion, for two major reasons. Number one, they're by far the easiest healer to play in the game. And number two, their throughput, while also being easy, is just insane right now. Their Farseer hero talent tree this season is almost comical on how impactful and easy it is. You're essentially just using your Riptide and Unleash Life on cooldown. You cast Cloudburst Totem preemptively before the pull, and then when you need it, you have it pop, and then High Tide buff chain heals, and I'm gonna be honest, that's about it. Overall, from a general standpoint, their healing numbers are just through the roof. Whenever I'm going into a Mythic Plus or pugging at any point in any form of content, I know for a fact that Restoration Shaman is a very strong pug healer because they're very easy to play, they're effective, and they bring a crap ton of utility. They bring Bloodlust, Thunderstorm for a knockup, double stuns with Capacitor Totem, a group buff, you name it, they have it as a healer. I'm loving bringing them into my groups right now. A great healing spec overall. And then lastly for healers, I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Restoration Druid. I think it's important to know that Restoration Druid has the highest raw healing throughput in the game for Mythic Plus. But Restoration Druid is also quite difficult to play because unlike Restoration Shaman, who can just, heal people whenever, willy-nilly with Riptide, Restoration Druid, they need really good understanding and time to prep some of their healing. They need to be able to know when all the damage is coming. They need to get all their healing over time effects on their allies like Rejuvenation, Regrowth, Life Bloom, Wild Growth. They need to get all this prep because if you have all of it going on your allies, that allows your hero talents to start popping off like Bursting Growth and Symbiotic Blooms. So I will say Restoration Druid, they do have insane healing potential, but they are kind of hard to play and they take some understanding and skill and knowledge of the current dungeon that you're in to preemptively know what's coming for them to excel. Overall though, I like the gameplay style. I think they're fun. Thematically, they're awesome. Good amount of variety as well. Now lastly guys, when it comes to tanks, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a very tight race between who the best tanks in the game are right now. There's really only two tanks who are kind of lagging behind and are pretty much the outliers, and those are Guardian Druid and Blood DK. I will say overall, you can play any tank in the game at a really high level, which isn't a problem, but when it comes to the tanks at the highest echelon of play, whether it be Prot Warrior, Brewmaster Monk, Vengeance Demon Hunter, or Protection Paladin, they're all in a really solid spot. If I had to give just one of them the edge, though, over the other, I would have to give it probably to Protection Warrior. It's a really safe bet on who to dive into and invite to your keys because they're just very easy to play compared to the other specs. They're very stressless. You go and try to play Brewmaster Monk or Vengeance Demon Hunter, you can mess up a couple things and end up dying. Once again, though, it's really hard to make a list on who the best tank is right now or even the top two tanks when all the logs at the very high end of play and upper echelon of tiers are showing a wide variety of tanking capability. It's very neck and neck right now. So tanks, if you're watching this video, let me know in the comment section what you think. I'm dying to hear your opinion. Personally, I think Vengeance Demon Hunter and Brewmaster they have a very high skill ceiling where, you go to a class like Protection Warrior where things are very straightforward and your natural damage mitigation is just through the roof. It's very smooth. Let me know what you guys think. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap up today's video on the best specs dominating Season 3 right now. Don't forget to check out our live show where we go live on Twitch and YouTube on Wednesdays as well as Saturday nights. We do a lot of fun segments. We have a ton of people coming in to hang out and goof off and talk everything World of Warcraft. I promise you guys won't be disappointed. Come on by, come check us out. I'm sure you'll have a good time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, consider subscribing or check out one of the videos you see on screen here to stay up to date on all things Warcraft. My name's Sky for the Comeback Kids. It's an absolute pleasure to make content for you all. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.